Want to thank also our new sponsor, FundedSportsTrader.com. They were the sponsor of today's event. We're going to be doing more stuff with them down the line. But go to the website. I would miss on describing what it is. It's a very unique way to show off your sports betting prowess, or if you want to get paid as a sports handicapper, you can do that. But that's what I'll leave it to, and we'll do more stuff with them down the line. But top 5 under-the-radar guys that are here at Big 12 Pro Day. And I'll start out with a guy that we talked to earlier. That you saw the interview. Number 5, Phillip Brooks from Kansas State. With the new kickoff rules, guys who can return kicks, I mean, I don't want to overstate it here, but if you were, okay, well, maybe let's look at this guy, we'll do this or that, can he do these things? But now that you have a new kickoff rule that is going to make kickoffs, fun and better again, I would say these guys got a 5%, 10% bump on interest from teams based on who their kick returners are right now and what they've been doing with kick returner, because some teams, kind of throw a guy back there because what's the point? It's just going to go out of the back of the end zone anyway. So having somebody back there like a Cavante Turpin to the Cowboys, or, a Devin Hester. Cordero Patterson just signed with the Steelers, and that's a hell of a grab for them the day the rule comes out.
What a career he's made.
Yeah, I mean, so
out of doing that. Yeah.
So, but now you have these new rules. I think a guy like Phillip Brooks has a little bit more value.
Yeah, I think it's great news for return guys that there is going to be a bit more impact in that part of the game. Certainly could make the difference in a guy being on a team and not being on a team, or being in the NFL versus being in the UFL, or being in pro football and not being in pro football. So, yeah, I think that's great news for Phillip Brooks and everybody else that is out here looking to make an impact in special teams. Have y'all actually watched the video of the XFL and how that all worked?
I sure do.
I think it was pretty okay.
They run all kind of trick plays off it, too.
Yeah, it definitely takes away some of the just down that field impact that's just the car wreck aspect of it. You can still go up and pop a guy, but you just don't have all that the 30 yards of momentum behind you to just crush somebody. So I watched a bunch of those videos and how it would look in the long run, and I'm you hear about it and you're like, I don't know, what are you doing? And then you watch it and you're like, okay, I can see where that opens things back up. And yeah, that's definitely good news for a guy like a Phillip Brooks.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 4, Josh Newton at TCU. Didn't get a chance to watch his workouts as much because they were on the show today, but here's a dude who's a bigger defensive back, a bigger cornerback, experienced, played a lot of games, was a 6-year guy. Not someone who's probably going to be high up, but 3rd, 4th round, you can get a good cornerback who can tackle, who can make some plays for you. I'm very interested to see what happens with Josh Newton in the future. There's probably a little bit more buzz about him going into the season than I think with the TCU guys in general. Maybe that buzz kind of fell down because they didn't have a good season, but these are still a lot of guys. Like we had Jared Wiley on. They played the national championship just a year ago. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater because they kind of hit the collective sigh after the year.
Yeah, they went with names in the portal, brands to some extent, and then you had a situation like, what was it, Brockermeyer had to end up medically retiring, and so it didn't really make the impact that you had hoped he would, and just they were coming fresh off a national title, so we're gonna get some guys from Alabama that are available, but they still had plenty of talent left over, like Jared said. I hadn't really thought about his mention of the leadership void and him taking some of the blame for that. I thought was really cool. So I think TCU is going to be fine in the long run. I think they're going to be okay. I think Sonny's going to get them back on track this year. But you mentioned Josh Newton, and he's a really terrific player. And TCU is really putting him in the pros these days. Had the big class last year, and I think they'll get more in this year, and then we'll see what they're able to do actually results-wise. But, I think he's a really good player.
To the running backs now, and I'm staying with TCU. Number 3, Emani Bailey. And he's someone who, again, I think kind of felt like he had 2 running backs in front of him a year ago and still played really well. And then this year was a huge part of their offense. You look at him, he's built well like an NFL back. He and Ryan Montgomery from Cincinnati are the 2 that really got to keep your eye on, and Ryan Montgomery really going to fly under the radar. But I would say that Emani Bailey, one that, when you talk about the running backs in this year's class, it's underwhelming. I think Trey Benson is the best one available, and then just right above Jonathan Brooks. And it might be different if Jonathan Brooks wasn't coming off an ACL. But then you get in this kind of, group of Will Shipley and Braylon Allen and Bucky Irving and guys like that. They're all good. And I think Emani Bailey can hang with all those guys. I really do. And so he's going to be an interesting late-round pick and someone I think that can probably help a team.
Yeah, he was dynamic, and it's just a shame that running backs are valued the way that they are these days. I mean, that's the big downfall for him as much as anything else. But, yeah, he came in and did his job well and was a force in the backfield for TCU when sometimes they didn't have a lot of other things clicking on offense. He was able to get something going for them. So, yeah, you just don't know with running backs, man. But I think he's definitely got an NFL future ahead of him, and he's a really good player that I enjoyed watching up in Fort Worth.
Yeah. By the way, the Rock's involvement in the UFL, I've talked to a couple guys, just asked them about, hey, you see those guys here? They're much more excited about that opportunity than they would have been in the past. And that's the thing they say.
Because of the Rock.
Because of the Rock, I think, because it's cool now. Yeah. So,
well, I'll tell you, he was not in the best of shape as far as, I think, appeal up until here recently when he went back to WWE, and he has returned to kind of a mix of his old bad guy character, and it's freshened up, and he's involved himself now into kind of the main storylines, and it's totally done a 180 for his career. Whereas people were kind of getting tired of him, he's back to being like The Rock, the most electrifying man in entertainment and all that. And so I think he's hitting his peak again, right as that league's about to start back up. And I do think that will bring a layer of okay, cool, The Rock's involved, sweet, let's be a part of that. And plus the fact that it's not the 1B or 1C or 1D version of the NFL minor league. It's the league. It's the minor league basically below the NFL. And so I think that'll make it more appealing rather than some guys are going to the USFL, some guys are going to the XFL, now it's all kind of more organized under one roof. So, yeah, I can see where guys are more excited about that.
Number 2, and a guy that we didn't get a chance to talk about today, but Arland Bruce from Oklahoma State didn't really – he was in Iowa. He got caught up in that kind of thing. He played in the CFL this last year, and he wound up here.
Okay.
And he's someone who – again, they extended the invitation to. There's 2 guys, Arland Bruce from Oklahoma State, and then a guy named Quantez Stiggers, who wasn't here today. He was not a Big 12 guy, but he has a really interesting story in that he had some family things happen. He never got to go play college football, and then got this CFL tryout and is killing it and is going to get drafted in this year's draft. I think Galco talked about him. We had him on. But Arland Bruce is kind of in that same thing where he went in the CFL. He can now go through an NFL draft cycle, and a really good player and someone I think, again, this is going to be totally under the radar, and he might be an undrafted free agent, but someone who did well today and people kind of have their eyes on because he was a talented dude that, obviously, some circumstances went up and got him, but here he is trying to make a comeback.
Yeah, I pulled up Quantez Stiggers because I was curious. The last name Stiggers. I was thinking it was Marcus Stiggers.
Yeah, the kid
back
that played
in the
at
day.
Lake Highlands.
Yeah, way
hell
back.
of an option quarterback.
Yeah, he's a terrific high school football player.
Went to Colorado.
I don't think he is related though, because he's from Atlanta, Georgia, apparently. But just a quick glance at his bio, and he's overcome some stuff now. Depression caused him to drop out of Lane College despite being on scholarship. His father's death caused that depression, and that just kind of ended his football career at that point. So here he is. That's great. And I think it plays into Yormark's overall theme of, some people probably ever mentioned the WWE and eyes roll, but the fact that he's got these avenues now part of this pro day of hey, if this doesn't work out, then maybe go get into pro wrestling, or hey, if this doesn't work out, maybe go get into NASCAR. If this does, I think that's really cool. I think that's some great outside the box thinking that's just opportunity driven for these guys. And so I had never thought about that, but I think that's an awesome another layer to have for this event is bringing in some outside opportunities to get these guys, where they need to be in the future. But those 2 stories, sound very interesting. And, I'm not going to follow both those guys and see what happens.
Wet blanket Oklahoma State fans, sad as hell that we didn't get to see Bruce.
Yeah, I think he would have helped them out, especially early in the season when they couldn't find anything outside wise, he would have certainly helped them. They figured it out down the line. Obviously, they played the Big 12 title game, but I think early in the season that was a big, like whammy for them not to have him. And number one, someone I will now forever call the gentleman from Mississippi, because I think he's going to be a senator one day. John Rhys Plumlee, who's one of our favorite interviews. He was great. But look, he's not like, as a quarterback, you look at him, he's a little dude. He's not big at all, but he is super athletic. He's proud to be an athlete. He'll do whatever you want. And if you put him on a roster and have him, have a package for him, have some stuff in him where he can run some stuff, he's a special teamer. He does these things. And then you've got an emergency quarterback, a guy who has an absolute cannon, of a baseball player arm, then absolutely, I would take a flyer on, more than a flyer on John Rhys Plumlee, but I think he's someone that you can certainly, he can help your team win, and he's got the right outlook on things. And again, great, locker room guy and everything you want to say about that. But he's absolutely a dude I would put on my team and see what I can get from him, because he's a superb athlete.
Yeah, I mean, his just question is his health.
Injury, yeah.
He can't ever seem to stay healthy, and I think with that limited amount of time, I think it probably halted some of his development as a passer. Just overall, but terrific athlete. Obviously has the baseball side of his athleticism as well. But I know you talked to him about not playing baseball because he's trying to get in the NFL. So I am rooting for him based on just our interactions with him. He's been very cool both times we've had an opportunity to visit with him. So, yeah, we're big fans, and he's a fun player to watch. Just wish we got to see a little bit more of him. But maybe we will someday in the pros. Certainly that's his hope and a lot of people's hopes for him and everybody else out here today. So looking forward to seeing some dreams come true for a lot of these guys here in the next month or so.
You never